The painkillers have kicked in. Let's do this. Hey everyone, it's Lixits and welcome to something different. As it was recently the month of spooks, I thought it would be appropriate to make a slightly scarier video. And honestly, I don't think there's anything scarier for an artist/writer than looking at your horrible past creations, so we're going to be redesigning a couple of my old characters a la to reach a dream. Why am I doing this? Except without making it an actual proper renewed fic because, well, we know what happened last time I tried that, and honestly, I feel like this natural anomaly should remain dead at all costs. Now, you may be wondering, what's in these atrocities will we be dealing with today? There's so many to pick from. It's TPO. It could only be TPO. As much as it is filled with unplanned, nonsensical bullshit, it's by far the most salvageable and also the only one that I'm generally interested in looking at. So, since our focus is on the Pearl of Alola, the characters we're going to be working on are the main 5 characters of that particular fanfiction. Starting off with the protagonist, Pearl's son, and a brief overview of the plot. Wait, what was the plot again? Yeah, you could probably tell I was like 11 in the making of this. So, Pearl grew up in Sinnoh, and also Johto at some point, for whatever reason. And basically was experimented on by like Team Galactic dude so she could talk to Pokemon. So like Anne, except an unoriginal science experiment plot that was made up on the spot. She moved to Alola because Team Galactic were spotted in Jubilee City, and although Pearl had no recollection of her abilities at the time, her mother got scared of them being near her child and potentially using her for world domination or something like that, I believe. Pearl ended up participating in the Island Challenge and becoming a Pokemon trainer, which led to her learning about her abilities. Eventually, near the latter half of the book, she ends up discovering her dark past and using the power of Solgaleo, she evolved from a Cosmome to stop the now ex-Galactic runs from summoning literal god and creating a new universe, or whatever the fuck they were trying to do in down Platinum before they were inevitably trumped by a 10-year-old. After that, she beats the Elite Four and becomes a champion. Or at least that is what would have happened if I actually finished it. Well, that's what would have happened if I finished most of my fanfictions now that I think about it. On to the actual character design. Pearl's most distinctive features would be her long blue hair, blue eyes, the flower in her hair, and her insanely uninteresting outfit. Like seriously, look at this. How is that meant to be eye-catching enough for a protagonist? The first change I made to the design was giving her a long braid as opposed to her having her hair down because, Alola's meant to be quite warm and she's already from the snowy lands, so I'd rather I didn't have this child melt to death during her travels. I also added some flowers in her braid because, well, it's cute and it felt like a good replacement for the flower crowns she ended up getting near the latter end of the story. I decided to make the shirt kind of colorful instead of keeping it as plain white. More specifically, I used a random tie-dye brush I found at the CSP Acid store, added some of my floral patterns, and also gave it pretty sleeve-like things to make it look less painfully boring. The shorts were changed from black to jean shorts, and the shoes from like flip-flops to sandals. She now actually has a bag too, you know, a thing that's probably essential for someone that's traveling. I also gave her freckles and made her a bit more pale, so as to reflect the fact that she's not from a warm area, seeing as the previous design did not exactly scream Sinnoh. As for the smaller details, she wears a friendship bracelet that was given to her by another character that is of interest today, and addition that I made when we were working the story for this video. She also has the Island Challenge amulet tied to her little bag. Her name has been changed to Shinju Hidaka, as Sinnoh is based off of a specific Japanese island. Furthermore, I made her canonically bisexual because the sheer amount of poorly written heteronormativity that resides within this book's subplots felt like it needed to be exterminated at all costs. The reworked plot concept is basically the same, except instead of Sinju being a lab rat, she was instead born with the ability to talk to Pokemon. And Team Galactic got a hold of this information through her father, who was a member of the team during its prime. Sinju, along with her mother and brother, temporarily fled to Johto before returning to the Sinnoh region after Team Galactic's initial defeat in Diamond Pearl and Platinum. They end up moving away because Sinju is offered the chance to receive her first Pokemon from a fresh Kukui in the Alola region in exchange for assistance in his study on Pokemon moves. So basically the simple makings of like every MC in the Pokemon world, but instead of being 14 like her TPOA counterpart, she, along with the majority of the other characters, is now 16 because I have to rewrite a romance subplot and I'd rather have them be like proper teenagers. She gets a Popplio, starts her Island Challenge, and even though she ends up falling into the trap of some villains looking to get to the Ultra Beasts, she ultimately manages to master her ability and become the Pokemon League champion. Seems simple enough, right? Well, it's not, because we've yet to get to the worst subplot of this fanfiction. Oh god, why am I doing this to myself? The next character we're going to be looking at is Forest Moon, the friendly rival character and I guess the love interest. He was honestly pretty boring, just the friendly rival character that ends up crushing on the protagonist and being insanely awkward around them. And while that is not particularly problematic, it still makes me want to pluck my eyes out. Just look at this, you'll understand what I mean. He had no arc other than getting a girlfriend and a Lunala, and honestly that's pretty fucking boring, so needless to say I have a lot of work to do. His character design is pretty simple. Brown hair, green eyes, striped shirt, green bandana, and that is pretty much it for distinct character features. But again, that's pretty boring, so I wanted to spruce up his design a little bit and give him a bit more of a purpose. Starting off with the changes, while I kept the striped shirt with some mild adjustments, he now wears a Hawaiian shirt over it because Alola is based off Hawaii and multiple layers of clothing is more dynamic than whatever this clusterfuck's supposed to be. I maintained the idea of him having shorts, but decided to make them a dark brown instead because that gave him more of a nature-esque color palette, which I thought suited him better. His bandana remains, but now at a more minty shade of green with a floral pattern, and instead of a backpack, he now has a sort of fanny pack, except it is pretty much just a belt with two big pockets because I legit cannot throw bags for the life of me. Onto the physical adjustments, while his hair is slightly darker and his eyes are a similar shade of green, his skin tone is a bit darker since again Alola equals Hawaii, and his Alolan heritage seems to be native based on his background. He also has a bunch of bandages and band-aids because Forrest gave the vibe that he was very knowledgeable on how to treat injured Pokemon in the original, so having that be from personal experience of getting injured seemed like a nice touch. The Redesign character is named Calliope, as that is more connected to the place that the region is based off of. His orientation remains the same, but his dynamic with Sinju has been altered a decent amount. Instead of them simping for each other for 30 chapters and then getting together, I've decided that Forrest was more tolerable when his and Pearl's relationship was platonic, so while Callie and Sinju at some point like each other, they ultimately form a very close friendship and decide they're better off as friends. Callie's arc is more focused on him trying to master his understanding of Pokemon and Pokemon medicine in order to help run his family's pharmacy while competing in the Island Challenge alongside Sinju. With the help of his starter Rowlet, he captures and befriends Pokemon in an attempt to achieve his goal. He grows rather jealous of his rival's supernatural abilities when it comes to understanding the creatures and struggles with comparing himself to her when it comes to achieving his goal. By the end of the story, Kalei ends up having formed a close bond with his Pokemon and ends up coming to terms with his insecurity and growing past his problems, learning to be proud of himself no matter the accomplishments of those around him in the process. Definitely an improvement, but even so, the initial concept for this character isn't even the main reason why I hate the romantic aspect of the story. And what is the reason, you may ask? Well... Moving on, we have Nate Black, who's likely to be one of the biggest anomalies in my past writing, because honestly, he doesn't really have much of a purpose. I guess he might have been a bit like that cliché best friend character that ships the protagonist and their love interest, but like he wasn't really that much of a friend to Pearl in the original, so that doesn't make much sense. Honestly, you might think I was writing an enemies to lovers fic or something if you saw how many times Brawl said he was annoying. And annoying was pretty much his only personality trait. His only other real contribution to any aspect of the story was simping for his childhood best friend and being jealous of Pearl's older brother, which is also annoying. There was legitimately no reason to like this character. He was very unnecessary, and he did not even make that much sense to begin with. Furthermore, Maz did not even have a consistent character design. When looking through the story for possible references, I could only find 2 drawings, and both of them were very different from each other, so honestly I feel like not even I knew what to do with him. Since she didn't have much of a consistent design, I ended up deciding on his appearance using where he's from and whatever sense of style I could decipher from the old art and the descriptions. With that being said, I went for a bit of a tree boy aesthetic, as he is a big Turtwig enthusiast, meaning that I once again incorporated green and plants into his outfit. His t-shirt has a sort of bonsai tree design, and his hat has a similar flower pattern to Kali's bandana because I'm very fucking lazy. The shirt jacket thing is there because I like layers, and the shorts legs are slightly uneven because I thought it fit the messy aspect of the vibe I was going for. I gave him what was supposed to be gloves, but they don't even cover his arms, so they're more like wristbands. I just thought they looked cool. The more minor details of his outfit include a shark tooth necklace, which is meant to have a sentimental value. I was thinking that it could be the last thing he had from Alola before having to move to Sinnoh or something. He also has an earring because, yes, the case on his back includes his little ukulele, which I decided to make the substitute for whatever the fuck the rapping bit was supposed to be. Honestly, I felt like it'd be more fun to have him play meme songs on the ukulele instead of a pathetic attempt to meddle with a genre of music I have very little knowledge of. Like kind of a comedic bit of Shinju minding her own business and suddenly hearing a ukulele cover of the Rickroll in the distance. Onto his physical appearance, I decided he was going to be both from Sinnoh and from Alola, so I tried to kinda blend the skin tones I chose for Shinju and Calais. I made his hair a darker brown as opposed to the previous light brown shades, but decided to add some lighter highlights reminiscent of the first drawing. His eyes never really had a clear color, so I opted for a bit of a hazel, as well as giving him a few shallow freckles as a nice detail. Finally, his name was altered to Naoki Pohano, which reflects both his roots and his tree boy aesthetic. He has also been changed to be pansexual, demisexual, as I felt that better suited his crashes within the rewrite. He still naively pines for his old friend, but to no avail as they did not end up together. However, he does now have an overarching goal, something that Nate lacked in the original. Naoki wishes to become an Elite Four member, or maybe even a league champion, as a way to prove the strength of his Turtwig and his ability as a trainer to everyone. The Alolan Elite Four seem rather uninterested, but he instead ends up continuing his travels with a certain researcher friend by visiting the galleries and participating in the gym challenge. He also catches a Pantsam at some point. I thought a Pantsam would really complement some of his past designs, but I couldn't figure out how to draw one well enough, so I'm just gonna speak it into existence and pretend it's in the concept art. Alongside Nate, we also get to revisit the subplot that made me hate this book to begin with, the love triangle. Moving on to Molly, who's low-key the epitome of boring. Molly Brown is Nate's childhood best friend turned love interest, and the only question I have regarding their relationship is what they see in each other, because I genuinely don't see anything. Like, did someone take my glasses or something? Ooh, yeah, no, nothing. She only exists to be a love interest for Nate, be a stronger trainer than Pearl for a chapter, be Pearl's traveling companion for a little more than a chapter, and be the center of the disgusting love triangle between Nate, Diamond, aka Pearl's older brother, and herself. So, it's pretty shit character-wise. No real goal, no interesting Pokemon, no concrete design, no personality, just the side girl that Nate likes. Needless to say, I had a lot of work to do. And a lot was putting it simply. This redesign was definitely the hardest one for me to finish. I legitimately made a whole design, then scrapped it entirely and made a completely new one. I redid my character design planner notes twice. Molly never really had any clear-cut characteristics. All she really had was blonde hair and glasses, and honestly, I only ended up keeping the glasses. For the clothing, the redesign has a white jacket that is falling off her shoulders, an off-the-shoulder top with a red, white, purple gradient with a grey tank top underneath, and what was meant to be the in-game Capri pants from the Gen 7 games in black. For the details, I gave her a pink flower crown, a magenta bag with a flower petal design, and a pair of round white glasses, as well as a few earrings, 2 on one ear, 1 on the other. She also has a matching friendship bracelet with Shinju. Onto the physical traits, instead of blonde, her hair is now light brown with dark brown and pink highlights, because honestly I was very indecisive on the hair color and dyed hair looks very cool. She's from both Alola and Kalos, and her eyes are a very dark shade of blue. The redesigned character is named Milo Laloon, a lightly closeted lesbian, as you can tell by my immense lack of subtlety. In the re-rate, she's an aspiring Pokemon conservationist and Senju's best friend, whom helped her get the opportunity to travel to Alola. The goal of her journey is basically to learn as much about Pokemon as she can so that she can help save them. During her travels, Maya and Charlotte end up participating in the Island Challenge, and by the challenge's end, she ends up volunteering at an Alolan branch of a Pokemon rescue place. She's very much oblivious to Naoki's feelings, as she sees their relationship as completely platonic, while at the same time crushing on Shinju, who by the end of the story becomes her girlfriend. Mai struggles with confessing her feelings throughout a large portion of the story, but remains outgoing and confident most of the time, because honestly, Saga with glasses is a very overdone character trope, and I'd rather making her a confident yet closeted gay, because everything about Molly, Nate, and Diamond was far too cliché and heteronormative for my own liking. Finishing up the horrendous love triangle fiasco, we're moving on to Diamond's son, Pearl's older brother, whose only role in the story was to be a prick as a means of creating conflict, be redeemed in like 3 sentences, fighting some people like once or twice, and being protective over his sister once. So, in other words, yes, he's another pointless character that I'm gonna add more depth to. Diamond's son, sometimes referred to by others as Big D, bless my childhood innocence, is an assistant at Professor Um's Pokemon lab in Johto, but is sent to Alola to fill out the Pokedex there for some unknown reason. His most notable achievements in the story were flirting with Molly for no good reason other than 11-year-old Lix's never-ending desire for relationship drama, referring to his sister as Little P, kissing a girl without her consent, being an asshole to Nate and Forrest, getting an Espion despite being a massive dickwad, and being redeemed in a singular fucking paragraph. So yes, he was poorly written and low-key problematic. There's actually only one existing piece of art for Diamond, but I can definitely tell that it was going for off-brand gold vibes. So dark hair, Ultra Ball-esque color scheme, and backwards baseball hat were the gist of his appearance. The redesign actually ended up being quite different from the original. To no one's surprise, I have no self-control. He keeps the zip-up hoodie but with short sleeves and no weird gold pattern, while the blue t-shirt changes to a paler blue sweater with rolled-up sleeves and a white undershirt. His light blue jeans actually remain quite similar, although a bit more faded in color. The minor details of his outfit include a pair of black sunglasses, a Pokeball earring, rainbow wristbands, a notebook for his research, and a small silver heart locket that he keeps in his pocket. Since a part of the original story was that Pearl's father was out of the picture, I thought it would be a cute addition if he kept an old family photo inside the locket. His physical traits remained fairly similar to Shinju's: dark blue hair, blue eyes, a similar complexion, and freckles. His eyes remained darker, as they did in the original, but his hair is now quite long and held in a ponytail. He also paints his nails. The redesigned character is named Tadaki Hidaka, and he is a very gay 17-year-old, if that wasn't obvious by his response, because I am not subtle whatsoever. Tadaki is an aspiring Pokemon researcher who traveled to Alola to study the concept of regional Pokemon forms in an attempt to make a name for himself as a researcher. With the company of his Totodile, he decides to explore alongside his friends instead of participating in the Island Challenge, as he isn't too fond of battling and thinks he's a little too old for it. During his journey, he quickly befriends Mala after picking up on the fact that she's also gay, and attempts to be her wingman, then help her ask out Shinju. Their sudden friendship leads Naoki to becoming jealous because he's horrendous gay there, which further causes conflict among the group. However, amidst the chaos, Tadaki develops feelings for Naoki, which overcomplicates things in typical Lixit's writing fashion. During the latter half of the story, Naoki realizes that Mai is not interested and actually ends up reciprocating Tadaki's feelings, with the two becoming a couple not too long after. Tadaki accompanies Naoki on his journey to Galar, interested in furthering his research on original variants by studying Galarian forms. But before he leaves Alola, he does publish the results of his research and ends up getting a small reputation among other researchers. And I believe that should be it. So there you have it. The Pearl of Alola, but better written and significantly more gay, or as I named it, Pearl Strings, Flower Crowns, and the Celestial Fog of Fate. Again, this is not really going to be published anywhere, but I thought your name would be fitting, seeing as Twisted Dream got one, and it wasn't published anywhere either. If you like this type of video, please let me know. It was pretty fun to make, and I definitely like to make more videos like it in the future. And also, if you made it this far and still find me somewhat bearable, consider subscribing. It is very much optional, but it does mean a lot. With all that being said, thank you for watching this video. Links to my other socials are kindly listed in the description below if you happen to be interested. Now without further ado, my name is Dixit and I hope to see you soon.